There is a painful paradox that many people only discover after years of quiet suffering. Those who grew up in harsh, emotionally deprived childhoods are often more likely than others to enter and remain trapped in harsh, unloving relationships in adulthood. Instead of serving as a warning sign, early emotional neglect can quietly shape what feels familiar, even normal, later in life. The bonds we form with our earliest caregivers do not disappear when childhood ends. They sink deeper, becoming internal templates for love, intimacy, and attachment. When those first bonds were cold, unpredictable, or cruel, the psyche may unconsciously seek to recreate their emotional texture, not out of a desire for pain, but out of habit. Familiarity, even when damaging, can feel safer than the unknown. The true cost of a difficult childhood is not limited to the years in which it occurred. Its impact is paid forward through a lifelong tendency to repeat its emotional patterns. We may find ourselves drawn toward relationships that echo our earliest wounds, gravitating toward neglect, imbalance, or subtle mistreatment. Like everyone else, we want love to feel like home. The tragedy is that for some of us, home was a place of anxiety, humiliation, or emotional abandonment. To understand this, we must consider the position of the child. A child is radically powerless. They cannot leave. They cannot meaningfully protest. They lack the emotional vocabulary and cognitive clarity to judge what is happening to them. Their survival depends entirely on adaptation, and in a harmful environment, adaptation means learning to tolerate the intolerable. Children in such circumstances develop remarkable psychological survival skills. They become experts at minimizing pain, at looking away, at dissociating from their own emotions. They learn not to notice how bad things really are. Cruelty becomes background noise. Neglect becomes ordinary. Attention shifts elsewhere, to television shows, to imagination, to small pockets of pleasure that provide brief escape. Perhaps a father's constant shouting is distressing, but there is a fascinating corner of the garden to explore. A tree can become a house. A fantasy can become a refuge. Perhaps a mother's mockery or emotional betrayal is painful, but that is simply how things are. No more tragic, the child tells themselves, than bad weather or too much homework. And crucially, the child often concludes that the mistreatment must somehow be their own fault. This belief is not foolish, it is protective. To believe that one's caregivers are fundamentally cruel or unjust would be psychologically unbearable. It would mean recognizing that safety does not exist where it is most needed. So the child instead assumes responsibility. If only they were better, quieter, smarter, more lovable, things would improve. As a result, mistreated children tend to be extraordinarily generous toward those who hurt them. They explain away cruelty. They defend neglect. They sympathize with aggressors. Parents are not unkind, they are stressed. They are not abusive, they are misunderstood. This habit of indulgence becomes deeply ingrained. What a painful childhood trains us to do, above all, is to tolerate meanness. The internal mechanism designed to detect danger and reject mistreatment, the psychological immune system, is deliberately weakened. It had to be. Had it functioned properly, it would have revealed an unbearable truth, that the child spent years dependent on people who caused harm. But what once ensured survival becomes destructive later in life. As adults, we may struggle to recognize when a partner crosses the line into selfishness, manipulation, or emotional neglect. We overlook warning signs. We normalize imbalance. We remain passive in situations that quietly erode our dignity. We may not question why we always pay more, give more, wait longer. We may not wonder why promises are broken, why our needs come last, or why our concerns are met with defensiveness or anger. Instead, we do what we learned long ago. We adapt, we explain, we excuse. They are kind, just exhausted. They are loving, just overwhelmed with work. They are distant but wounded by their own past. Any explanation feels safer than the simple, painful truth. We may be involved with someone who does not truly care. And on top of this, we often feel shame. Shame for our tolerance, shame for our endurance, shame for staying. But this shame is misplaced. What looks like weakness is in fact a survival strategy learned early in life. It once protected us. Now it may be quietly harming us. Awakening begins when we shift perspective, when we ask, what would I tell a friend if they were in my situation? Through this lens, clarity emerges. We begin to see that what we endure is not evidence of depth or complexity in our partner, but evidence that we may need to leave. Yet even leaving is not enough, because the deeper issue remains. The psychological muscle that most people use to expel emotional poison has been weakened by history. Healing requires rebuilding this muscle, relearning how to recognize mistreatment, trust our emotional signals, and believe that discomfort is meaningful. Our early suffering should not sentence us to repeat it. It should instead grant us a powerful claim to tenderness, stability, and care. Love does not have to hurt to be real. Neglect is not sophistication. Cruelty is not depth. Those who were denied kindness early in life are not asking for too much when they seek it later. They are finally asking for what should have been theirs all along.